The moment my daughter-in-law called security on me, I didn't raise my voice. I raised evidence. She thought an old woman couldn't outthink her, but I'd already filed the statement and copied HR. When truth showed up, her badge didn't. And that was just the beginning. My name's Marceline Drayton, though most folks in Buckhead call me Miss Marce. I'm 68, a widow, and I still believe good manners are a kind of armor. That Saturday morning was crisp, the kind of early fall air that smells like cinnamon and wet leaves. I had baked a banana bread and written a small card for my daughter-in-law, Seraphine LeClaire, to celebrate her promotion at Holt Royal Motors. Nothing fancy, just a neat note, my best handwriting, and a ribbon tied in gold. I'd taught budgeting classes at the community center for 20 years. Small acts of thoughtfulness still mattered to me. The streets shimmered with red leaves, and I parked 3 rows back, refusing to take a customer's spot. I planned to be in and out within 5 minutes. The night before, I'd commented on Seraphine's Facebook post. "Proud of you, honey. Your mama-in-law is cheering." It vanished within minutes. I thought it was an internet hiccup, so I tried again. Gone. No alert, no explanation, just deleted air. That stung worse than an argument. I told myself it might be a glitch or one of those algorithm things folks talk about, but deep down I knew I'd been quietly erased. Still, I decided to show up with grace, not screenshots, my mother used to say. You can't reason with silence, baby, but you can stand taller in it. When I walked into Holt Royal Motors, the light nearly blinded me. Glass walls, shiny black floors, jazz floating like perfume. The air smelled of coffee and new leather. A young woman at reception, Nadine, her badge red, looked up with a practiced smile. "Good morning, ma'am. Welcome in." I nodded, setting my purse down carefully. "I'm here to drop off a card for my daughter-in-law, Ms. LeClaire." Her smile faltered for a half-second, the way people do when they sense a storm behind polite words. Then I saw Seraphine. She stood near the center of the showroom, her hair sleek, her blazer sharp enough to cut glass. Our eyes met, and her expression froze somewhere between surprise and calculation. She walked over, heels striking the floor like punctuation marks. "This isn't a good time, Mom," she said softly. Her smile stretched tight. I lifted the bag with the loaf and card. "Just a quick congratulations, oh sweetheart." She didn't take it. Instead, she turned slightly toward Nadine. "We're at capacity. Please keep the floor clear for serious buyers." That line hit like cold steel. Serious buyers, as if I weren't one. I placed the bag on the edge of the counter, freeing her hands from the burden of choosing. Nadine's eyes darted between us, unsure whether to intervene. I felt heat rise in my chest, not from anger, but from the effort of staying composed. A couple nearby slowed their steps, pretending to look at a car while tuning into our quiet theater. "I'll be quick," I said evenly. Seraphine's voice dripped sugar. Quick would have been online. I exhaled slowly. My generation learned to swallow hurt in silence, but I wasn't in the mood to choke on old lessons. I nudged the envelope closer to Nadine instead. "Would you make sure she gets this, honey?" Nadine nodded, almost apologetic. I smiled, though my hands trembled just enough for me to notice. The showroom's mirrored glass reflected Seraphine and me side by side, 2 women from the same city, yet worlds apart. My phone buzzed. Roderick, my son, her husband. "Mom, everything okay?" I slid it back into my pocket. "Not yet, baby. Not yet." I stepped back, gathering what was left of my grace. Seraphine leaned toward a coworker, voice low but clear enough for me to catch. "She doesn't belong here." I stopped. The words hung in the air like smoke, invisible but choking. I turned to Nadine, choosing my witness. "Thank you for your kindness, baby." Her reply was barely a whisper. "Yes, ma'am." Her eyes said she understood more than she could speak. As I reached for the glass door, the chill met my palm. The city outside shimmered, unaware and on behind me. I heard the steady rhythm of footsteps, security shoes, heavy, deliberate, drawing closer. "She doesn't belong here." Those words hung in the air like a chill draft sneaking under a closed door. I froze mid-step, every muscle stiff but my chin held high, just like my mama used to say, "Baby, don't drop your crown just because someone can't see it shine." The banana bread bag felt heavier now, the ribbon cutting into my fingers. I didn't turn towards Seraphine. Instead, I met Nadine's eyes across the counter, her nervous hands hovering over the keyboard. The reflections from the showroom glass doubled me, one version walking out, one standing her ground. I silenced Roderick's buzzing text in my purse. This wasn't a family group chat moment. I wanted to leave on my own terms, not as someone dismissed. Then came the sound of authority, steady, weighty footsteps from behind. A man's voice, calm but rehearsed. "Ma'am, can I help you today?" The security guard looked caught between the rules and his conscience. I gave him a small, polite smile. "I'm on my way out, thank you." I could have crossed that bridge of civility, but Seraphine decided to set it on fire. "We need the floor clear for actual customers," she said, each syllable sharpened to slice. The guard's eyes flicked between us. My age, the card, her badge. You could see empathy trying to clock in, but it wasn't his shift today. I kept my palms open and visible, the way I'd taught people in my conflict resolution workshops. Calm hands can speak louder than raised voices. Seraphine tapped her earpiece. "Security to the front, please." It was a performance now. For the watching couple nearby, she offered a sugary chuckle. Saturdays can get a little wild. Translation, I was the wild. I kept my voice even. "Sir, I'll step outside if you'll walk me." He nodded, relieved to be given something polite to do. "Please document her name in the incident log," Seraphine added, turning a family matter into company paperwork. Nadine hesitated, pen trembling over the page. I gave her a tiny nod. Permission to protect herself. A second guard appeared, the kind who looked like he wanted no part of this. Shoppers pretended to browse, their ears tilted toward the drama. Public humiliation loves an audience. The jazz in the background suddenly sounded louder, tinny, and wrong. Chrome tires sparkled like stage lights. I remembered something I'd told a class once. When someone frames you as a problem, don't argue. Grow beyond the frame. So I kept my sentences short and clean. I came to leave a card. "I'm already leaving. Thank you for your help." Seraphine smoothed her name badge like it was a shield. "We appreciate your understanding," she said, but the smile on her lips was paper thin. The guard offered me an exit. "Ma'am, I can walk you out." "I appreciate your courtesy," I replied. Someone whispered, "That's her mother-in-law?" And I didn't turn around. Dignity doesn't answer gossip. At reception, Nadine quietly lifted her phone, not to film, but to mark the time. "Ma'am," she said softly, "I can log that you left a card." Her voice trembled like it wanted to apologize for the whole room. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said. She slid the envelope into a drawer and whispered, "I'm sorry you're going through this." I patted her wrist gently. "You're doing fine, baby." Her fingers tapped something under the desk, a signal I didn't understand yet. I adjusted my stance toward the door, making sure the last image they'd have of me was upright. Then came another sound, measured, confident, expensive, leather soles. Every associate on the floor straightened before Garrison Holt even came into view. His voice carried the kind of authority money can't buy, but people still try to imitate. "Is there a problem here?" he asked. Tone like a courtroom question. Seraphine spoke quickly. "Just maintaining standards, sir. We're at capacity." He scanned the scene, me, the guards, the customers, the tension. "Ms. B. Drayton," he said evenly, reading my name from Nadine's screen. "Thank you for your patience. Gentlemen, I'll handle this." I nodded once, keeping my voice steady. "Thank you for stepping down." He met my eyes, understanding the layered meaning. "Standards protect guests, not embarrass them," he told Seraphine. She swallowed, cheeks tightening under the fluorescent lights. "It was a misunderstanding," she managed. "Then we'll clear it promptly." He replied. People went back to pretending they weren't watching, but slower this time, storing the scene for later retelling. The guards gave me a silent nod of apology. Nadine made a note in the system. Card delivered respectfully. Even bureaucracy could bear witness when humans failed to. Garrison gestured toward the door. "May I walk you out, ma'am?" "Of course," I said, glancing one last time at Seraphine, who hovered behind the counter, close enough to hear, too far to help herself. As we stepped away, Nadine's voice floated, low but clear enough. "Sir, you might want to check the special file." The room went still again. Garrison paused, one brow lifting. Seraphine's expression faltered, just for a beat. I didn't know what that file meant, but she did. I could see it in the way her fingers tightened on the counter edge. I simply said, "Do what your house requires." He nodded once and turned toward the mezzanine stairs. Each step echoed like a promise. Garrison's steps up the mezzanine sounded like punctuation marks in a silent sentence. Every heel strike said policy. Every breath underlined authority. Down on the floor. No one moved. The guard stood beside me, his arms folded with uncertain loyalty. Nadine's eyes stayed fixed on her screen, but her shoulders spoke. Tension held polite. Seraphine hovered near the counter, posture stiff, fingers pinching her badge like a charm against bad luck. I didn't move or text. This wasn't for Roderick or for anyone's timeline. It was for the room to remember exactly how a person behaves when tested. Inside, I whispered to myself, "Don't gloat, just note." When Garrison returned, he carried a tablet, not anger. His tone was administrative calm. "Ms. Drayton," he said, "may I confirm your security phrase?" The phrase was one Wallace and I created months ago for our trust accounts. Hawthorne and Pearl. I said it clearly. Nadine's head lifted slightly, recognizing protocol done right. Garrison scrolled and stopped. His expression didn't change, but the air shifted as if the building took a breath. "Cullen and Pearl? Custom cream interior? Delivery notice this morning?" His gaze moved to me, steady and formal. "Ms. Drayton, your Rolls-Royce has arrived." You could have heard a seatbelt click in that silence. The guard straightened. A couple nearby leaned back like they'd stumbled into a movie's turning point. My voice came out smooth. "Thank you for the courtesy." No tremor, no triumph. Dignity carries farther than volume. Nadine entered a line into the system. Client acknowledgement received. Seraphine blinked, the script in her head unraveling. I looked at her, not through her, and said quietly, "I came to leave congratulations. I'm on my way." Garrison nodded, understanding the balance of leaving gracefully while making sure truth stayed standing. "We'll arrange a discreet handover per your preference," he said, tone precise, almost ceremonial. Then came the shift no one wanted to witness, but everyone did. Garrison turned towards Seraphine. "Ms. Leclerc, you attempted to remove a client, an elder, using security." His voice was level, but the words landed like gavel strikes. He lifted the tablet and showed the time-stamped log Nadine had entered. Hospitality standards protect guests, not humiliate them. Seraphine stammered. Sir, that's a misunderstanding. If so, he interrupted gently, HR will clarify Monday. Turn in your badge and company phone now. The guards exchanged uneasy glances. There was no need for shouting. Professionalism can sound like punishment. Seraphine's hand trembled as she unclipped the lanyard. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I was only... But he'd already turned back to his staff. I didn't intervene. Some moments aren't for saving. They're for witnessing. I'd learned long ago, not every fall is meant to be cushioned. The guard held the door open as Garrison said, Ms. Drayton, allow me to walk you out. I gathered the small bag that held my banana bread. The bread's for the staff, I told Nadine, who gave a nod of gratitude that looked half relief, half respect. Outside, the Atlanta sun cut sharp lines across the parking lot. Garrison asked quietly, Do you have a preferred delivery time? Weekday morning. I said, Minimal attention. He smiled faintly. We'll make it smooth, ma'am. I'll learn at my pace, I added. I always do. We parted on the word that had carried the whole morning, respect. In the car, my phone buzzed. Roderick's name flashed. Mom, call me, now, I said. Dinner, Garden Bistro, 6. He started to push questions, but I ended the call gently. Another ping followed. A bank notification. Monthly trust audit complete. My system still hummed like a well-kept heart. I drove slowly, replaying details, archiving them by instinct. My late husband's favorite saying came to mind, measure twice, cut once. Today, it applied to people. At the stoplight, 2 notifications stacked. First, Seraphine's social post, her smiling face beside a community outreach banner. Caption, serving with heart. Seconds later, an email from Nadine. We have your delivery ready. Thank you for your grace today. I watched both screens glow in contradiction. Same city, same hour, different weather. I whispered to myself. At 6 o'clock, we'll find out which weather my son lives in. I got to Garden Bistro 15 minutes early. The place smelled of butter and thyme, the kind of comfort that hides behind expensive menus. I chose a corner booth, my back against the wall, clear view of the door, habit more than paranoia. The evening light slid through glass panels, hitting silverware like tiny warnings. I ordered cornbread and black coffee. No wine tonight. Wine blurs edges. I need sharp. I texted Roderick, table 7, nothing more. I laid a small legal pad beside my menu, not for confrontation, but to keep the record straight. My breath slowed into pattern. In for 4. Hold for 4, out for 6. Calm was the best armor I owned. He arrived late by 10 minutes, sleeves wrinkled, wedding ring spinning around his finger. His eyes carried the kind of fatigue only divided loyalty brings. Mom, what happened? He asked. No. How are you? Just logistics. I gave him the headlines. I dropped off a card. She called security. The manager intervened. He leaned back, rubbed his forehead, then said what I expected. Did you say something that embarrassed her? I almost smiled. I said congratulations. Then I left. He exhaled like I'd given him half a problem instead of the whole truth. I waited, letting silence do what it does, invite confession. Then he leaned forward, elbows on the table. Mom, she lost her job today. If you care about us, you'll help fix this, I asked, calm but clear. Define fix. He swallowed. Call the dealership. Say it was a misunderstanding. Ask them to reconsider. I rested my palm flat on the table. You're asking me to lie. His jaw tightened. I'm asking you to be flexible. For family. The word family came out like a wrench. Then the real blow. If you don't, I don't know how we keep peace. We might need space. I repeated his words slowly. Space? I said. Son, peace bought with dishonor doesn't last. My tone stayed low, steady. Not sermon, just fact. I opened my pad, the one he used to doodle on as a boy during choir practice. Neat bullet points. Times, witnesses, policies. I spoke like I was teaching class again. Nadine logged the moment. The general manager cited standards. No one yelled. No one cursed. Facts protect us better than favors. He rubbed his jaw, wanting a loophole where truth could bend without breaking. I offered what I could. I'll write a statement. I won't advocate for her firing or rehiring, just what happened. I slid the pad toward him. He didn't read, just nodded, half grateful, half wounded. His phone buzzed. I saw his expression first, then the glow of the screen. Seraphine's post was already live. Elder relative escalated at my job today, praying for her healing. The comments rolled fast. Protect your peace, sis. Some folks never happy. I didn't touch my phone. I just said, screens don't hold me, Roderick. People do. You do, he whispered. Please don't respond. I nodded. I won't. I'll respond where consequences live. The server arrived with our plates, catfish for him, salad for me. I thanked her by name. Sometimes grace is the only protest left. Between bites, he asked, "What happens now?" I told him. "Tomorrow after service, Pastor Ellis can mediate if you want neutral ground. Monday, Wallace will send a factual record to HR. No emotion, just documentation." His shoulders dropped. It wasn't victory, but relief. I paid the bill quietly. Old reflex. "Son," I said, "love without truth is flattery. Truth without love is a weapon. I'm offering both." We stepped outside. The night air bit clean and cool. A black SUV eased to the curb, headlights cutting through the glow of the bistro sign. Seraphine stepped out, camera light already on, a friend beside her holding the phone like a shield. She squared her stance, chin high. "So we're doing this here?" she said, voice sharp enough to slice pride. I took one step forward, my breath even. "No, baby," I said, meeting her eyes without flinching. "We're doing this right." The restaurant door clicked shut behind me, and the evening air felt charged, like before a storm. I noted positions without thinking. Roderick at my left shoulder, Seraphine directly ahead, her SUV idling at the curb with its headlights cutting through us. The ring light in her friend's hand framed my face like a spotlight. I'd seen enough protests to know. Lights mean witnesses, but also weapons. I kept my hands visible at my sides, palms open, voice steady. The hum of Buckhead traffic layered behind us, laughter from the patio, a bus sighing to a stop. I caught the hostess watching through the glass, her expression caught between curiosity and fear. In my mind, I heard my own rule. When someone tries to steal your story, stand still long enough for truth to catch up. Seraphine's sigh was deliberate, camera ready. "Miss Drayton," she began, voice honeyed for the stream. "Do you want to apologize for getting me fired?" her friend whispered. "We're live." And the red light blinked judgment. Roderick's jaw clenched. He opened his mouth, but I touched his sleeve, a silent plea for stillness. "I didn't fire you," I said softly. "Your employer enforced their policy," she scoffed, switching tactics fast. "I serve the community. You tear women down." I gave her what calm I had. "I won't debate charity on a sidewalk. If you want to talk, put the phone down." Instead, she stepped closer, camera inches from my chin. "Say you'll call them and undo this," she demanded, voice trembling just enough for sympathy. Her friend read comments aloud. "She looks cold." "That's her mother-in-law?" As if it were scripture. "Truth," I told her, "is what HR documents, not what a phone edits." That earned me a glare. She threw out a phrase meant to sting. "Elder abuse goes both ways." The friend gasped. Good theater. I turned slightly toward the hostess. "Layla, would you note the time, please?" I asked. Her head bobbed once. The sound of her pen on the podium felt like order returning. The security guard across the street started moving our way. I shifted my weight, half a step, so Roderick entered the camera frame. I would not be edited out of my own family. "Son," I said evenly, "we don't handle private hurt on public phones." His eyes closed a moment, breath sharp. "I know. Mom," he murmured, voice cracking on both words. "Then remember," I said, "this isn't where truth lives." To Seraphine, I offered one more path. "Would you like Pastor Ellis to mediate tomorrow?" She sneered. "Church can't fix employment." "Maybe not," I said, "but it still reminds us who's watching." The air shifted. Even her friend's camera hand wavered. I took out my phone, opened a saved shortcut, and pressed send. Wallace's office fired back within seconds. Email confirmed to Holt Motors HR, CC'd to Nadine Arliss. Timestamp 6:52 p.m. The header read. I turned the phone toward Roderick, showing proof without spectacle. He nodded, eyes glistening. Within a minute, another ping. Garrison's reply, acknowledged. HR will document, no public comment. Facts have their own gravity, Seraphine's friend whispered. The comments flipped. They're saying you staged it. Spectacle eats its tail when fed too long. "Layla," I said gently. "Thank you, baby. Go on inside." Oh, I wanted witnesses released, not weaponized. Seraphine's tone softened for her audience. "If you really loved Roderick," she said, "you'd fix this and help with rent." I almost laughed, but didn't. "We don't trade truth for rent," I said. "We build peace on it." Roderick exhaled like a man finally surfacing from deep water. "We'll talk budgets tomorrow," I told him. "No cameras, no crowd." He nodded. I looked back at her lens and said clearly, "We're done here." A police cruiser rolled slowly past, blue lights skating across the sidewalk. The live feed faltered. Without drama, the crowd lost appetite. My ride share pulled up. Seraphine called out, "You think this is over?" I met her gaze across the glow of her ring light. "No, baby," I said quietly. "It's moving upstairs." Then I stepped into the car, closing the door on both noise and narrative. I arrived early. Before the church filled with voices, 2 pews from the back. I let the choir's rehearsal seep through the walls, a hum steady enough to settle the heart. Pastor Ellis found me there, his handshake both firm and kind, a man used to holding other people's storms. His office smelled of lemon oil and paper. Diplomas lined one wall, family photos another. A corkboard carried 3 printed rules, one voice at a time. No recording, confidentiality observed. That alone was mercy. I texted Roderick and Seraphine the room number, neutral, no surprises. When Pastor offered prayer, I bowed my head, breathing steady. Faith and composure are cousins. I keep both nearby. We began with opening statements. Pastor asked for 3 sentences each. I stuck to facts. I delivered a card. Security was called. Management intervened. No adjectives, no wounds. Roderick spoke next, his voice torn between guilt and fatigue. "My wife lost her job. I'm stuck in the middle." Then Seraphine leaned forward. every word rehearsed. It was public humiliation. My mother-in-law doesn't respect boundaries. She skipped over her call for security as if omission rewrote truth. Pastor repeated back our themes: dignity, policy, livelihood. It sounded cleaner than we lived it. I asked that no future family discussion be live-streamed. Pastor nodded, writing that down like it was law. I laid out printed statements: Wallace Keating's letter to Holt Motors, timestamps from Nadine's logs, a copy for Pastor's folder. We document, I said, so memory doesn't have to carry the whole weight. Seraphine offered a character letter from her charity board. Pastor clipped both pages together, her public kindness and my private restraint now stapled side by side. Roderick asked softly. "Mom, could you call Garrison now?" Pastor interjected. "Let's wait for HR's written response." That structure was mercy, too. No shouting, just sequence. My phone buzzed mid-session. I turned it face up for transparency. Subject: HR determination, employee conduct case. Numra 4472. Pastor gave a small nod. The letter read like corporate scripture: guest service policy breached, witness statements confirmed. Outcome final. No reinstatement. Severance per policy. Rehire eligibility pending training. Roderick's head dropped. Seraphine's eyes went sharp. "They only listen to rich clients," she hissed. Pastor said calmly. "They listen to documentation." I spoke once. "I will not appeal this." The silence that followed was relief wrapped in grief. Then came the pivot. "If you won't call," Seraphine said, voice brittle, "help us with rent." I looked to Roderick. "That's a family budget, not mediation," I said. Pastor agreed. "Support is fine, but it's separate from truth." I told them, "I'll help my son directly, not subsidize a narrative." The phrasing landed hard, but clean. We scheduled Monday morning to go over numbers, fair and square, that evening, at my desk. Wallace joined by speakerphone. The man has the voice of a notary. Dry, deliberate. We reviewed my living trust, Roderick's post-nuptial agreement, the education funds. The clauses stood like fences. My assets remain independent. Emergency assistance limited to my son. No spousal withdrawals. Roderick sighed on the line. "So, you can help me, just not her?" "Exactly," I said. "Short term, written, accountable." He thanked me. Quiet. Another ping. Garrison Holt's email, thanking me for composure, confirming HR would offer Seraphine training if she accepted it. Mercy wears many suits, sometimes navy blue, with a company logo. Before bed, I saw Seraphine's new post, "When family money writes your future," tagged with a blurred church door. The comments split scripture like it was gossip. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my calendar and inked in Wednesday's follow-up. No pencil this time. If she wanted to preach, she'd get a transcript. I arrived half an hour early. The fellowship hall was bright with fluorescent light and smelled of coffee and lemon pledge. Clean, ready, formal. Folding tables formed a long rectangle. Pastor Ellis sat at the head with 2 deacons on either side, Bibles stacked beside paperwork. A single chair waited for me, another for Roderick, a side seat marked for Seraphine. Signs on the wall read, "No recording, no phones." I placed 3 folders before me: the HR letter, my written statement, and printed screenshots of her posts. One rule repeated in my mind like a hymn: I will not litigate feelings, I will state facts. Upstairs, the choir rehearsed. I took comfort in their voices. Truth didn't need to shout, just to stand. Roderick arrived, eyes tired, his suit jacket wrinkled. "Thanks for coming early." "Mom?" I nodded, no words needed. When Seraphine entered, she scanned the signs and muttered, "Convenient." Pastor Ellis motioned us to sit. He prayed briefly, voice low and grounded, then spoke the rules aloud, 5 minutes each, no interruptions. I kept my opening crisp. I came to buy a car. I greeted my daughter-in-law. Security was called. Management intervened. HR ruled. 5 sentences. Nothing more. Roderick followed. I love both of you, and I'm tired of lies outpacing the truth. The room softened a little. Seraphine said, I felt disrespected. Then I lost my job. I just wanted my community to see my side. Pastor summarized our triangle: dignity, policy, livelihood. Before anyone could respond, a knock came at the side door. A courier handed an envelope to Pastor Ellis, Wallace Keating's letter, addressed to Seraphine and copied to the board. Pastor skimmed it and nodded permission. I read the first paragraph aloud: a cease and desist for defamation, a demand to remove false statements, preserve digital records, and post a correction. No money requested, for now. Seraphine's face flushed deep red. So you're suing me? She snapped. No, I said quietly. I'm giving you a door, one that closes on damage. Roderick's shoulders eased, half relief, half regret. Pastor set a 24-hour limit, remove the posts, issue a brief correction, then we'd reconvene for prayer. The board opened the floor. Phones were collected in woven baskets. A young woman said, We should believe women first. Deacon Ruth answered gently, We believe documents first, then shepherd the people. Murmurs rippled. An older teacher spoke next. Online harm burns faster than repentance. The room grew still. Pastor asked me to restate my boundaries. I will keep to facts. I won't advocate for firing or rehiring. I will help my son directly. Roderick spoke firmly. No more filming from our home. Finances stay between us. The sound of quiet agreement moved through the hall like wind in hymn books. By Thursday morning, I sat across from Wallace at Keating and Rowe. He reviewed the next step, a restraining order if compliance failed. Judges like fences, not flamethrowers, he said. We organized the binder: incident, HR ruling, church session, legal notice, timestamps, mid-meeting. Roderick called. She deleted 2 posts but left the viral one. New caption says, Standing in Truth. Wallace dictated a second notice, short, decisive, effective by 5 p.m. I signed the affidavit without trembling. At noon, my phone buzzed again. Prestige Motors released a public statement. We uphold guest dignity. The decision followed policy, not external pressure. They thanked me for professionalism and linked their standards online. Truth had an address now. I sent it to Pastor and Deacon Ruth. Within minutes, the board forwarded it to every ministry lead. Roderick texted, Finally. Sorry, I wrote back. You stood beside Truth. That's enough. That afternoon, Seraphine called. Her voice was small. What should I write for the correction? I offered a simple draft. She hesitated over 1 line. I mischaracterized events. She wanted, I was misunderstood. I said, use the real verb, or the wound stays open. At the church office, with Pastor present, she settled on, I mischaracterized parts of the incident and will complete training before seeking new work. She posted it. Deacon Ruth confirmed compliance. We closed in prayer, I said softly. Let dignity do the talking now. Seraphine didn't answer. She simply nodded and left. Driving home along Auburn Avenue, windows cracked, I passed the mural of John Lewis, his painted eyes fixed on a horizon larger than pride. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Check your porch. On the stoop, a box. Inside lay Roderick's old watch, the one I'd given him on his wedding day, wrapped in a note. I'm not worthy of this. R. I held the watch in my palm and whispered to the quiet hallway, Boy, Worth is a choice. At sunrise, I set Roderick's old watch on the kitchen table beside a steaming cup of coffee. It ticked quietly, steady as my resolve. Symbols mean nothing without systems. I flipped open my leather folio, the one with tabs for every decade of my life. Funeral directives, account passwords, contingency plans. Today's list was short but absolute. Written retraction, no contact online, and a family boundary memo signed in ink, not tears. I called Wallace Keating. Draft the settlement to close if she complies. No damages if done by Monday. Tro if not. His tone was brisk, approving. Then a text to Roderick. Breakfast at 8. Bring your calendar, not your guilt. I smiled to myself. Mothers of grown sons know the difference between repentance and repair. At Keating and Rowe, the air smelled of paper and lemon polish. Seraphine arrived with a friend, neutral witness, nervous smile. Wallace slid the final agreement across the table. A clean 3-page settlement, retraction, deletion log, non-disparagement, and a clause for completing workplace training. I added one line in blue ink, acknowledgement that security was called without cause. Seraphine hesitated, then signed. Roderick signed his own boundary memo. Finances handled directly with me. Counseling session booked, passwords no longer shared. I placed the watch in his palm. Keep time with your choices, I said. He looked down, then met my eyes. No words, just comprehension. Wallace notarized every page. The legal heartbeat slowed to a steady, human rhythm. By Sunday afternoon, we gathered in Fellowship Hall for the reconciliation circle. Phones surrendered at the door. Pastor Ellis opened with a prayer that felt more like a pause. Seraphine read her statement aloud, voice trembling but clear. I mischaracterized events, called security without cause, and will complete conduct training. The room held its breath, then exhaled, not applause, but release. My turn came. I stood and said, "Today, I'm establishing the Drayton Scholars Fund at the neighborhood school for books, tutors, and FAFSA help. It's seated now." Pastor took the trust document from my hand, his eyes soft with pride. A wrong was not erased. It was repurposed. Roderick spoke next. "I'll volunteer Saturdays." For once, he didn't look to me for approval, he just meant it. The next day, I returned to Prestige Motors. The delivery bay was quiet, fluorescent light glinting off polished chrome. Garrison Holt shook my hand. "No speeches," he said. "Just respect." The same receptionist from that first day smiled shyly. Paperwork finished. I ran my hand across the hood. What began as conflict had become conveyance, transport for good work ahead. Roderick opened the passenger door and waited, reversing the script of that first visit. As we rolled out, a young porter whispered, "Ma'am, thank you for how you handled all this." I nodded. Dignity teaches quietly. Back home, I worked through my elder checklist, durable powers of attorney, healthcare directives, charitable trust updates. An email to Nadine confirmed tutoring start dates. A text to Pastor Ellis attached the scholarship MOU. A short call to Seraphine. "Your training certificate due Monday and no further dialogue needed." Calm, not cold. I locked the folio in my safe. Life documented, not dramatized. That evening, I sat in the neighborhood park, laptop open, drafting the scholarship announcement. The air was golden, children laughing somewhere beyond the oaks. Roderick joined me on the bench, tapping the restored watch. "Mom," he said, "thank you for not making me feel like a boy again." I smiled. "You earned your grown man's seat, baby. That's your doing." The rolls sat by the curb, sunlight catching its curve like a closing chapter. Before leaving, I scheduled an automatic transfer. The car's luxury tax refund redirected monthly into the scholarship fund. A symbol turned sustainable. My phone buzzed with a new message from Garrison Holt. Mentorship request. Could you speak to our staff about guest dignity? I looked out at the sunset, heart quiet, and thought, one more circle, this time to teach. As I closed my laptop, another message appeared, anonymous this time. You think the truth ends online? It read. A chill ran through me as headlights swept across my window, pausing too long before moving on. Maybe some lessons hadn't reached everyone yet, I whispered. Or maybe class just started?